Colorado's March blizzard is bringing out the best and the worst in this state. First and foremost, the dedication and bravery of emergency responders rescuing stranded drivers. One state trooper died in the process. The wise decision to cancel 1,000 flights at the airport to keep people from risking their lives in the storm. Excel crews racing to restore power after more than 200,000 people end up in the cold, with the dark on the way. And the blizzard revealed the worst in people as this storm raged. A selfish climber on the Manitou Incline requiring rescue, stranded drivers starting a fistfight, and Democrats at the state capitol admitting that they're putting politics over public safety, refusing to call a snow day, forcing citizens to choose whether to risk coming to the Capitol. Some people are in it deep. Next. His name was Dan Groves. State Patrol Corporal Dan Groves. His final act on this earth was to help a fellow Coloradan, somebody stuck in the blizzard on I-76 near Roggen this morning. Then another driver came along, going too fast, CSP thinks, and Corporal Dan Groves became the State Patrol's 29th line-of-duty death in its history. Groves was hit by that out-of-control driver, and he later died at the hospital. He had been with CSP since 2007 and is survived by his partner. Corporal Dan Groves was 52 years old. A reminder of the risk to emergency responders that there is no such thing as a routine or a safe call, not when the weather is a whiteout like this. Elizabeth Fire let us come along as they used their snowcat to rescue stranded drivers in Elbert County this afternoon. 80 rescues and counting at last check. While down the road in Douglas County, the sheriff's office reported that stranded drivers were getting into fights and urged everyone to just chill. Hey, credit to Becky Ditchfield. This storm played out precisely as she told us it would here last night, when and where it was expected. But the unexpected was also inevitable, and drivers have been stuck for 6 hours now on I-25 at Greenland, south of Larkspur. A chain of crashes has closed that interstate from Ridgegate Parkway down south to Monument Hill. Also hope that nobody planned on getting to Kansas tonight. I-70 is shut down from Chambers all the way east to the state line. Look at E470 or 76 or US 6. They are all a total slip show tonight. Just don't go. That is the plea from police and sheriff's deputies across our state. So I am beginning to think that former Mayor Federico Peña's promise of DIA as an all-weather airport might have been a slight exaggeration. For starters, it is not an all-weather airport if people cannot get to the airport. Every runway was also closed at one point today. No flights coming or going from DIA. That is just the 4th time in history that's ever happened. And can tell you that Peña Boulevard is blocked off right now. It's closed between the airport and 56th. 1,300 flights at DIA have been canceled, most of them preemptively. And you know what? The airlines deserve applause because they kept thousands of people from risking their lives to try and make a flight today. The chorus of complaints about the weather on the Front Range is really just a measure of how many people live here and can raise their voices in common frustration. We knew from the start that this was really going to be an Eastern Plains event, a punch at the farming and ranching families trying to get through calving season without losing any livestock. And our meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen has been out on the plains where the blizzard warning extends beyond the metro area's midnight cutoff. Corey, they're talking clear through tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you know, and especially those winds as it continues to just hammer. I'm up here on the Palmer Divide. This stretch of 86 from Elizabeth all the way to Lyman is really getting impacted by these high winds. You can see I'm standing in about knee-deep snow drifts out here. You can kind of see out here where these vehicles out here in Elizabeth, the winds are just whipping over, creating huge snow drifts out here. Now that the people are starting, we're seeing a lot less traffic out here now that people have finally, after 7 hours of a blizzard, they finally decide that it is time to go inside. And we haven't seen a lot of people out here right now, but you can see these winds just whipping through here. The streets are kind of empty right now, but this blizzard has had a major impact. You know, Kyle, it's really amazing to just, forecasting a blizzard is one thing, but to see it unfold right in front of your eyes out here and experience is pretty amazing. And I'm very impressed with just how much area this blizzard has really impacted.
And Corey, earlier today, you were seeing all of these people who were driving on unplowed roads and then just having to pull over and stop until who knows when.
Yeah, you know, and it was really, I didn't expect to see that. The people just kind of came out. It was one thing to experience this blizzard, but we saw people with bald tires. We saw people without jackets. We saw people without food getting stuck. And now, over the night, they're all going to have to be rescued.
Wow, absolutely wild. Please be safe. Corey Reppenhagen for us along the Palmer Divide. Let's bring Kathy Sabin now for a look ahead.
Blizzard warning continues for Denver through midnight tonight. Even though the snow has tapered off somewhat here in the city, the wind continues to be a big player. A day of winds exceeding hurricane force, 90-mile-per-hour gusts, and Glen Haven out at DIA, winds to 80, 70, 80-mile-per-hour winds still going on the eastern plains. We hit our high early this morning at 43 degrees, and we've been hovering around freezing all day, so not a terribly cold storm. It's a vertically stacked low that's already in west central Kansas, and on the backside of it, pressure gradient so tight with that pressure area so low. We've had just what could be a historic storm system heading into the plains tonight because of the wind and the barometric pressure so low with this system. We're seeing some drier air working in from the northwest toward the southeast, but the wind gusts still exceeding 40 and 50, even 60 miles per hour with 5 to 10 foot drifts expected on the far eastern plains tonight. So the blizzard warning will go out east of Akron and Lyman through midday tomorrow. We also have winter weather and travel advisories out for the high country. We'll be measuring the snow in feet in areas in red. And as this low pressure system begins to pull away, we'll start to see improving conditions here in the city over the next couple of hours. But again, the wind will continue to be a big feature tonight and again tomorrow. And so as we look at your snow, another 1 to 3 inches possible tonight on top of what you already have. Blizzard warning cancels out at midnight. Tomorrow we have a windy day. It's a dry day with a temperature of 32. We get into a warming trend heading into the weekend with temperatures in the 50s on Sunday and maybe a little bit of rain by Tuesday of next week, Kyle.
Kathy, thank you. Our state saw a pretty stunning display of selfishness down in Manitou Springs today when someone's decision to climb the famous incline in the middle of the blizzard resulted in a rescue that put 18 first responders at risk on the incline. Yet we also saw selflessness as Coloradans sheltered their neighbors. There are nearly a dozen emergency shelters statewide. One in Douglas County is already filled to capacity. And there's a map of all of them on the next Twitter feed. High winds took down trees and power lines and ripped power away from 200,000 XL customers at one point today. Picture proof from next viewer Megan Huftels in Thornton where the power lines were swaying. Our Jordan Chavez joins us now to talk about the Coloradans who are preparing for a night in the cold and the dark. Jordan, XL has chipped away at the number of people without power, but not by much considering the large numbers.
Yeah, Kyle, we've seen that number fluctuate throughout the day. As we track those outages, it's really hard to pinpoint an exact number. And part of the problem was that earlier today, XL was having problems with its outage map because of, well, an outage. But they did say that they're not going to have all the power back up and running for all of their customers tonight. They're hoping to at least get a vast majority of their customers' power back by tomorrow afternoon. They're saying around 4. But I got to say, Kyle, at this time, you know, we have seen a lot of crews out here, and they are having quite a bit of success out here. We've been following one around this afternoon. They had to jet off to their next assignment, which is why you don't see them with us now. But they were focused on this automated switch I'm standing next to here in the Sun Valley neighborhood. And as we were following them around, you know, we really learned why it can actually take a little bit longer to get power up and running. We were following the route for this whole line that's here above me. That took about 15 minutes, and that was only that short of time because we didn't run any problems. We were following all the downed lines, making sure there weren't any of those, as well as nobody else working on an already existing line. They had to do all of that before they could just get the power back up and running. They say they were able to restore power to about 4,000 of their customers with that. And Kyle, I gotta say, man, you think about how long of days we're seeing all these crews working. They started at 7. They say they will go until 11.
Our Jordan Chavez reporting from Denver. We lost his feed there, but yes, our thanks to all of those people out there working the lines tonight. The Democrats who run the Colorado State Senate refused to call a snow day today, even as the state house closed down and much of our state came to a full stop in the snow. And they straight up admitted to Marshall Zellinger that it was partially about politics.
With 34 present, 0 absent, and 1 excused, we have a quorum.
When the Senate opened at 9 a.m., the rain was starting to turn to snow. At 10 o'clock, with a dusting on the ground, the Senate passed the controversial oil and gas reform bill.
It's a firm belief of mine. I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps that we have to get the job done. That's a Marine spirit.
Democratic Senate President Leroy Garcia defended his decision to make senators, staff, state patrol, and even custodial crews come to work today, while the House stayed dark with a snow day.
Is the Senate open today as payback to the Republicans?
No, I mean, the Senate's open today as an opportunity to finish the work that we haven't been able to finish this week.
Let's translate that. Republicans stalled everything on Monday, having a 2,000-page bill read out loud. Then yesterday, committee hearings were canceled as senators spent all day debating the oil and gas bill. But today, afternoon committee hearings were on.
If there are blizzard conditions in parts of the metro area when you get out of here tonight, did you make the wrong decision?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on whether or not it'd be a right or wrong decision. As I said earlier, I'm monitoring the conditions right now. I'm not a meteorologist, as I don't think most of my colleagues are.
But Becky is, and said this on Monday.
If you have the opportunity to work from home on Wednesday, I would plan on it.
I don't mind showing up to work. I drive a Jeep, not a big deal. I signed up for work.
Republican Senator Owen Hill, who has to drive home to Colorado Springs tonight, wanted to do our interview outside to show the conditions at 11:40 a.m. because a few hours later, public testimony would begin in a hearing on a bill about paid family leave.
We have said, effectively, if you want to testify in any of these important bills, you have to drive through this mess just to get your voice heard.
So if anyone listening online right now wants to send in their testimony, you can email it to anyone on the committee.
Because of the weather, Democratic lawmakers made the plea to send in testimony instead of showing up in person. By the way, if anyone did show up, using the Capitol elevator was ill-advised because of risky elevator service as a result of the weather, which would not have been an issue if the Senate, like the House, closed. For Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
So it turns out that 100 people actually did email in their testimony for the paid family leave bill. It was not read aloud into the record as promised. Just names, organizations, whether they're for and against. So the citizen testimony that would have been heard in person in better weather was rerouted to email instead and was not actually heard today. Snowstorms have been political in Denver for quite some time. I mean, just look at Denver's former mayor, McNichols. He basically lost his longtime job in the early 80s when he botched the response to a snowstorm. And Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, run for re-election, is not about to get McNichols today. Our Steve Stager made a news desk in the snow and heard from the mayor today about some top headlines.
Yeah, it would have been nice to actually have him and interview him here at the Snow Desk, but we did not. So for those of you who are just joining us here in Colorado, you may not know about the December 1982 snowstorm. Here's some video from back then. There was a lot more snow than today. Back then, Mayor Bill McNichols did not open the Emergency Operations Center for about 33 hours. People complained about roads that went unplowed for days. About 6 months later, McNichols lost an election to Federico Pena. So flash forward to today, 3 months before another election, Mayor Hancock held a news conference to announce that the Emergency Operations Center is open. He's declared a state of emergency in the city. He's announced that 70 plows were on the roads as of this afternoon, and that residential plows, what some call the baby plows, will be on the streets tonight. And he urged people to look for those who have nowhere to go.
If you see someone, and as we have tweeted out quite a bit, who may be on the street, homeless, vulnerable, we want to make sure we get them in a shelter. If you can't move them, please identify where they are. Call the non-emergency line.
Political lesson learned. By the way, if you were following us earlier in the day, the mayor had said then that 27 trees had fallen down inside the city. I got an update right before we went on air here tonight. It is now 40 trees. Those trees are the ones that are on public property, and they're the ones that are blocking off roadways, so the city wanted to get notice out about those. And I should point out, Kyle, before I go here from the Snow Desk, that even some people have come to take selfies at, by the way, throughout the day. There's a guy snowblowing across the street, and I just watched as he went a lot further than he actually needed to go on his property. So neighbors helping neighbors, I believe that's the next way.
Look at that, the long-range lens showing us people being good neighbors in this city. So if you see a tree down, adding to our oddly specific total of 27 trees, then 40 trees, call that non-emergency number 311. All right, thanks, Steve. Next viewer named Hugh Wilson emails me during the break, asked if the A-line was working today. It was, Hugh, for the most part. In fact, the train to the plane was running fine on Pena even when traffic was not. There's no way we're going to throw shade at it that was shut down for an hour with a frozen switch, because, let's be honest, we all kind of had some frozen switches today. Our former governor, John Hickenlooper, is stuck in a Hickenloop as he attempts to launch his campaign for president. Can't get over this question about whether or not he is a capitalist. Now he gets asked about it everywhere he goes after he fumbled it repeatedly, but appears he's starting to get his feet under him. Listen to him last night on Seth Meyers.
And I say, you know, this whole thing about capitalist, I mean, it's a little bit if you asked me whether I was a nerd in high school, right? It's maybe not the first label I choose, but it'd be hard to argue with, right? I mean, I started 20 businesses. I created over 1,000 jobs. I helped revitalize a large part of downtown Denver. If you're going to put a label on me, you might as well call me a capitalist, right? But I think the labels divide us. I mean, capitalism in the American dream is supposed to provide security and opportunity for the middle class and for poor people. And right now, it's only helping people at the top. And I think rather than attaching labels to everything, we need to be figuring out how to get people to come together and really reinvent American capitalism in a way that works for everybody.
Here's the deal. If you're running for president and people are talking about you, even if they're making fun of you, it's not the worst thing in the world when you're trying to get your name out there. Hickenlooper's trying to own this. He wrote a blog on Medium called A Lesson on Capitalism for President Trump, the president who criticized him, saying that Hickenlooper's ashamed of capitalism. Big shout out when we come back to the good ones who are out in today's blizzard to help you stay safe and help those who are out there to help you. And the most Colorado thing we saw today was a closure of a library due to something other than snow. Today, above all days, let us hear for the good ones, like the folks at South Metro Fire out fixing a broken gas line in Parker. That seems like miserable work. And they also helped out Parker Police when one of their cruisers got stuck. And while delivery drivers are not public servants like we typically profile on the good ones, man, they did some good work today. Several Next viewers told us about timely and cheerful deliveries. And we love hearing your stories about Next neighbors coming through for each other in ways big and small. There's a snowplow that got stuck in front of Jacqueline Reiswick's home in Smoky Hill and Centennial. Her husband Marty and her kids Ryan and Corbin grabbed the shovels and they helped out the big plow. That's how you do. Here's a look at today's storm through your eyes.
There it goes.
Jeepers. Poor guy.
This is the park across from our house. We got some pretty heavy wind gusts from time to time.
Oh! A tree just fell down. All in a person's car.
They better drive home careful.
This is the plan of it. I knew. Right now.
The most Colorado thing we've seen today is a delayed opening. It didn't really have much to do with the blizzard. It was the moose sitting outside the Summit County Library branch in Silverthorne. Employees could not get inside without messing with the moose, so they waited. They think it camped there overnight because they have heated sidewalks. That's a smart moose. Here's a fascinating piece of feedback from Next viewer Kathy Vera, who writes in to say that her father was the head of Denver's emergency preparations for that 1982 blizzard. Kathy says the biggest reason for the unprepared city was because the storm was not predicted. We didn't have the technology that we have today. Kathy continues, there were a lot of amazing people who worked tirelessly during that storm, including my father. I'm so glad that you wrote in his defense. What an interesting perspective. And Mary Ellen Watkins. I agree with you, Mary Ellen. Corey Reppenhagen always has a smile in the worst storms. Yes, he does. See you next time.